Well, now you've got Iran, Russia, China, Kazakhstan, and several other countries are hoarding and mining Bitcoin. And America is going to look at that and say, wait a minute, do we want Iran to be the richest country in the world? No, we've got to start mining and hoarding Bitcoin right now. And it's got to be a hash race or a hash moment where America's got to start to get in the race here. Anybody who bans Bitcoin is going to be left for dead. Nigeria, they had a chance to become the leading Bitcoin country in the world. The government came out and said, we're going to ban it. And the people said, hey, guess what? We are going to ignore you. The Bitcoin price now is $70,000 a coin. And the people are saying, guess what? You just exposed yourself as impotent fools, and we're not going to listen to you anymore. Drop dead. Same thing in India. India is saying, oh, we're going to ban it. The people are saying, guess what? You can go pound sand. We're not going to listen to you anymore. So this is a great insurrection. It's the global insurrection against banker occupation. Thanks to Bitcoin, we're going to get rid of the nation state. We're going to get rid of the central bank. We're going to have peer-to-peer commerce with the hardest money ever known in the history of humans. And it's pro-peace. Unlike fiat money, that's pro-war. War and fiat money go together. That's Bitcoin true. Promotes peace. When you go to war, it's expensive. And if you go to war and you start running out of money, you start printing more of it because you can. So the war keeps going. And, Afghanistan is a good example. America's still in Afghanistan. And why? Because they just print the money. Yeah. If they had to actually pay for the war using hard money, like the gold that is in the Fort Knox, the war would have ended, 15 years ago. Under the gold standard, wars were somewhat limited in duration because countries would run out of money. They'd run out of gold and the war would be over. And so there was a limiting factor to it. Because Bitcoin is unconfiscatable and you cannot acquire my Bitcoin through coercion or violence, unlike fiat money. America has a US dollar standard, world reserve currency. The foreign policy is give us all of your commodities and wealth in exchange for this bullshit, in exchange for this nonsensical paper money, or we're going to send the Marines in and we're going to start killing people. It's pathetic. Now with Bitcoin, it's like you can send in as many Marines as you want. Everything's in Bitcoin. So you're not going to get anything. So you're wasting your time and money. Why don't you just stay in Washington, D.C. and go on the web and masturbate like all you other bureaucrats? So with Bitcoin, they're like, there's got nothing else to do. Either buy Bitcoin or shut up, right? And there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Again, my message to those communities in America that have been treated poorly for hundreds of years, this is unconfiscatable wealth. People around the world are finding that they can transact person to person, and there's no third party, there's no government, there's no intermediary. The transaction is the settlement, right? It's a bearer instrument. And it fulfills the requirements of perfect money and perfect price discovery. And so people are kind of moving beyond a fear-based, hate-based, kind of societally imposed, fear that we comes down from the top, and are moving into a new direction and a new society. And that's what's attracting so many people to it. And I made the point that in the United States, when I've been talking to the Black community directly for 10 years now, what I've said is that, this is the first unconfiscatable money ever. And for the Black community, this is a great way to, whatever agency they may or may not have, to improve upon it. Because whatever the wealth that you're aggregating and making can be put on this unconfiscatable, immutable ledger called Bitcoin, and it cannot be taken from you. And that is a phenomenally new thing that's going to really, and I see it now in the Black community. If you go to Clubhouse right now, you've got the Black Bitcoin Billionaire Group and several others, African American and Black American groups, and they're like, they really are talking about Bitcoin in such a positive way, in a loving way, which is fantastic. And that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm observing. And that's why Bitcoin is going to go super ballistic, because it has more than just the attributes of being perfect money. It also favors love and peace over war, love and peace over violence. It defunds the state, defunds the central bank. It defunds all those legacy systems that we have unfortunately been carrying on our backs for hundreds of years, that we can just get rid of it all. It's like Gandhi, he went to the sea to make salt, because why buy salt from British people in India when I can make my own salt? And the empire left, and here we have people are saying, you know what, I don't need your fake fiat paper money. I can make my own money. You take your central bank and shove it. I don't need it. Go away. Leave me alone. And that's what's happening. And so people are upset because they work at the central bank. They believe in the central bank. And now their belief system has been crushed, just like the British Empire got crushed. We see every time banks fail, people are scared into hard assets. And the best hard asset is by far Bitcoin, by a huge factor. So gold will benefit a little. But people are going to go into Bitcoin because it's the fastest horse in the race, as Paul Tudor Jones describes it. Okay. And that's a huge driver of adoption on Bitcoin. There's 100 trillion, let's call it $100 trillion worth of investable assets around the world. That's just people buying stocks, bonds, property, this type of thing as investments. And only 1 trillion of that is in Bitcoin, a little less than $1 trillion. Those people are starting to get nervous about the global institutions. We've got an era of deglobalization now. It's no longer globalization, it's deglobalization. People look at the UK, right? You got Brexit. So now you're out of the EU. Then Scotland wants to leave the UK. And, people are breaking apart. The US, there's a secession movement in Texas. We want to leave the US down in Texas, they say, right? You've got trade between the US and China is becoming very tense. A lot of the globalization that was driven the neoliberal model post World War II is all breaking apart. And so that means that folks are going to start to look for alternatives, and they're a bit panic stricken. The IMF can't do anything. The World Bank can't do anything. NATO can't do anything. So they're like, what am I going to do with my wealth? There's 100 trillion of it. So that $1 trillion market cap for Bitcoin goes to 5, 10, 15, $20 trillion in market cap. When it gets to $11 trillion, it'll be bigger than gold, and then it'll double and triple again after that.